Hi guys, so we're just going to do a minute silence for all of the brothers and sisters that have passed recently with our fists raised. So if we could all just have a minute of silence, please.
Can we please have everyone come in front? Everyone come in front, please. Everyone gather around for our moment of silence. Black Lives Matter. Put your fist in the air, please. Photo cats, you know what to do.
It's amazing that everyone has gathered here to protest Black Lives Matter. But it's also important to remember when we talk about Black Lives Mattering, we're talking about Black Lives Mattering here in Australia. We're talking about Black Lives Mattering globally. And I just wanted to reiterate that this movement isn't about division. This movement is about unity. For when Black Lives Matter, so do our women's lives matter. So do our LGBTQI community lives matter. So do people living on the streets lives matter. So to Malcolm Turnbull and his followers who preach all lives matter, how can all lives matter when we have people living on the streets? When people are still being shot for the colour of their skin? All lives don't matter. And for all lives to matter, Black lives have to matter. I'll hand it off now to Uncle Ken, who will do our acknowledgement and be speaking as well. Thank you.
Hello, thanks for coming on such a sad occasion. I really wish we didn't have to protest like this. Start off with the acknowledgement to country. I can't do a welcome because I'm not from this land. I've lived here since 1979, but I'm from the Bidjara people of southwest Queensland. But I'd like to acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. I'd like to acknowledge the elders past and present. I'd like to acknowledge the sacred land that we live on. I'd like to acknowledge that the sacredness of our land and the spirit of our ancestors have never gone away. But let's think for a minute, what else are we looking at here? We're looking at the point, the very point of the first invasion. That colonial monster had been sweeping the earth for a few hundred years prior to this. Actually longer, had invaded Ireland some 400 years before us. The colonial monster had slaughtered its way around the globe and reached this point. And this point here is when the murders started. 228 years later, the murders are still going on. Still going on, and they're still going on globally. Where you get people of colour, where you get First Nations people, we are targeted by the colonial monster for murder. Now, I have to read a letter, so I'm not going to give a big speech today. I have to read a letter from the family of a young man. Before I read that letter, I'll say one thing. Anyone, any person killed in custody is an atrocity against the human race. But when a person is murdered for their race, beliefs, or the colour of their skin, that is an act of war. I was asked to read this letter from a young man was murdered in Long Bay on the 29th of December last year. His father, David Hill Sr., asked me to read this letter out. My 26-year son was in Long Bay Hospital for only a month. Previously to that, He had done his 8 years without too much trouble. He was set to be released a few weeks after the terrible incident on the 29th of December 2015, but sadly and mortifyingly, it took his life. My son had chronic diabetes and was insulin dependent since he was 5 years old. Being in hospital, there should have been a healthcare plan around his diabetes. The jail allowed him to buy chocolate biscuits, Tim Tabs. On the 29th of December, he refused to give them to the guards. He was violently restrained to the point he could not breathe and lost his life. Think about what I've gone through. Put yourself in my position. Your adult child is about to be released from jail. You can't wait to see him. He's already told us that he can't wait to change his life around on the outside. He hasn't met his other siblings as they were born while he was inside. Yet they see photos of him all the time and hear all the stories of how he is. On the 29th of December, we've just found out another brother had lost his daughter, so my wife goes to dial their number on the phone and it starts to ring. That's strange, we think. It's 8 p.m. and my big daughter is calling from Kempsey. My wife answers, and in disbelief as she is told what has happened, I'm listening and my heart sinks, my body is trembling. I can hear her say, Junior's gone. I can't talk, I freeze. My wife hangs up, screams, I scream and all the kids are distressed. A part of me died that night and I'll never get him back. As I found out more about what happened to him, I think about how my son would have been feeling at the time. How all those guards were restraining him over a packet of Tim Tams. I never got a chance to say goodbye. The last time I saw him was the day I dressed his lifeless, precious body for his funeral. I've always thought about my son while he was in jail, but now my thoughts are heart-wrenching, as I won't ever get that chance to see him again, nor will the rest of his family. I'm going through the emotions, depressions, the anxiety of losing my son. The actions of the officers, they need to be accountable for their actions. Too many lives are taken in custody and not enough disciplinary actions are not taken against them. What I saw in my son's body wasn't necessary. The marks and bruises on his body were from forceful action that didn't need to happen. This needs to stop. I've seen on the news a lot lately about the murder of black people by police in the United States. I feel horrible for those families. I know what they're going through. I am also very angry that our own government works so hard to cover up the truth about Aboriginal people how Aboriginal people are also being killed. I remember one other story about a black man, Eric Garner, in New York, being held to the ground by police. He was saying, I can't breathe, but they kept pushing him down. My son was also crying, I can't breathe. The guards saying to him, you can breathe, David, you're talking. Yet a few minutes later, he was dead. So many people all over the world know about Eric Garner because of Black Lives Matter movement. We all need to come together and fight as one. I want to know what has happened to my son and what is happening to black people in this country. I want justice. David Hill Sr. on behalf of David Gunday Hill Jr. Thank you very much.
You're streaming live right now. Yes, you are.
Get your fucking ass out of here, white supremacist cunt. Fuck off.
Go away, mate. You've been asked to leave. You're intimidating people. It's not true.
I'm
What
What about that one there streaming live?
Fuck off. Fuck off, you white supremacist piece of fucking white shit crap. Move your fucking ass.
Don't touch me.
No one's touching you. No one's touching you. Just blocking your camera. There's a
Tune in tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Bye for now.